So Kevin Cleary is here. He is the CEO of Cliff Bar and Company, a leading marketer of and maker of nutritious and organic foods and drinks for people on the go, focusing on expanding Cliff Bar's growth in the sports nutrition and healthy snacks category while leading the company's day-to-day business operations is what he does best. He has grown Cliff Bar's product portfolio, expanding nationally and international distribution, and increased the company's use of organic and sustainable ingredients. I have some tough questions of my own for him in the Q&A, and I look forward to sharing yours as well. Please welcome Kevin Cleary.
Thank you very much. That's great. Thank you. So before I get started, how many of you tried the nut butter filled bars? What'd you think? All right, thank you. You are like some of the first people that have tried those because we just started shipping them a couple weeks ago. So thank you for being up for that and taking them on. So I'm Kevin Cleary. I'm CEO of Cliff Bar, and I love my job. And one of the things I appreciate most about it is that I get to volunteer on company time for causes that I care about. And for me, it's all about youth sports. There it is. We're all about youth sports. And I've coached over the past 4 years over 10 teams in basketball, football, soccer, and of course, baseball here. And what I love about it is I get to share my passion for the game with the kids. I get to teach them the game. But what I like most is helping each kid find that unique thing that they can bring to a play or to a game or to a team. And when it happens, watch out. Like all of a sudden, kids just can't get enough. I mean, they want to shoot more hoops, they want to kick more soccer balls, they want to take more batting practice, they want to catch more footballs. They just love it. And it's about connecting them to a broader purpose. Now, I've got twin boys. And one of them, this stuff, baseball and sports, comes really easy to. And the other guy, Jake, he's just got to work a little harder at it. He's a good little ball player, but he's got to work a little harder. So he's out in left field. And he's up like this, and this ball's hit out to him in like the second or third game of the season. He takes like 3 steps to his right, and he catches it off about a foot off the ground. And of course, Dad's like super proud, right? And I look out, and all the team runs out. I hope it was the third out, because otherwise it was very disruptive, because they all ran out and they tackled him. But as I watched Jake over the coming weeks, months, he had changed because he realized he was no longer just a kid out in left field, but that he was connected to the team and to the other players. And it doesn't matter whether you're 8 years old or you're 50. It really doesn't at the end of the day. That realization that you bring something unique to the world, that something you do, make, or create matters and is important to somebody else, there isn't any greater source of inspiration or motivation. Humanity is at its best when it's connected to a purpose. But you know, we all have to grow up, right? And then pretty soon we start working, we start trading off our love tos for our have tos. And it becomes really acute in our 20s, right? Where we also start to really feel that tension. And I think it's pretty safe to say that most people don't look forward to Monday mornings. But boy, do they look forward to Friday afternoons, right? And you know, it's because work isn't a place you go to today to feel nourished, right? From a mental, physical, or emotional standpoint. And we talk a lot about our threatened resources being air, water, and climate. But I think we may also want to add to that list inspired, passionate, fired up people doing the very work that we need them to do on these critical issues. Now, at Cliff Bar, we're one of the lucky ones. Right? We're a purpose-driven organization. We attract a lot of people who really want to make a difference, both for our company, but even more importantly, that through the company to the broader world. And you know, it's an interesting thing because when I see people come into the company, what they're attracted to is the fact that we are very much at the core of who we are is being purpose-driven. But you know, not all companies are this way, right? And what happens is a lot of companies, they're becoming better global citizens, some of the big companies out there in the world. They're doing things more for people, planet, and the community. But part of the challenge is, if it's not baked into your DNA, and at the end of the day, every one of those initiatives is based off of financial return on investment, while it may do good outside the 4 walls, it doesn't do a whole lot of good inside the company on really engaging people in your organization. because that is ultimately what this is about. At Cliff Bar, we're like many companies, right? We started with an idea. It was a good idea. It was an idea not to save the world. It was an idea to make a better energy bar. And we launched that idea. And it starts like many companies, right? All companies start with an idea, and if it's a good idea, people will start to be attracted to it. And then all of a sudden, profits will start to flow. And then all of a sudden, financial success is there at your footstep, right? And you're really faced with two questions. It's, are you going to focus on what you can give people, or are you going to focus on what you can get from people? And that's a critical question, because what do you think wins out more times than not, purpose or profit? Profit, right? 99 out of 100 times profit wins. But profit isn't what motivates people. It's not what inspires people. Because cash and profit aren't the currency of purpose. Impact is. And that's what we need to be focused on. Because people don't care at the end of the day about how much money your company makes or your quarterly earnings. What they care about is what's the quality of their life and what kind of impact can they make through their work. Now, I'm not here to suggest to you at all that these are easy decisions to make for anyone, because there's a lot of gut check time when you put purpose over profit. And we faced one of these back in April of 2000. This is Gary Erickson. He's the owner and founder of Cliff Bar & Company. He had an idea for Cliff Bar, and he had a couple $1,000 in his pocket, and he launched Cliff Bar & Company. And guess what? In 8 years, the company was doing $68 million in revenue, right? But something happened. We were in a hot category. 2 of our big competitors got bought. And conventional wisdom was there was no way an upstart like Cliff Bar was going to have any chance to compete with the best and biggest in the industry. So Gary and Kit, a husband and wife team, made the decision and accepted an offer for $120 million. That's an entrepreneur's dream, right? It's done, it's over. Go relax, go sit on a beach somewhere. But the deal wasn't adding up. Because what Gary and Kit knew was that they could do a heck of a lot more with a company of passionate, fired-up people than they could ever do with $120 million in their pocket. Because at the end of the day, Cliff Bar was never about the money. It was always first and foremost about creating great-tasting energy bars that people wanted to eat. It was about creating a great place to work. It was about inspiring adventure in everyone that we met. And it was about giving back to the communities where we live, work, and play. So Gary and Kit took a step back, walked away from the money, and said, we can't sell the company. Send them home. And in that moment, put us on a new path, one that we got crystal clear on what our purpose was. And that was it right here, to run a different kind of company, the kind of place we'd want to work, that creates the kind of food we'd want to eat, that strives for a healthier, more sustainable world, the kind of world we'd like to pass on to our children. And the power in this came from the fact that people looked at this, and not only they'd say, yeah, that's great, I want that for my company, I want that for myself. I want that for my life. And the power that it's generated has blown us away about how much we've been able to accomplish over this 16-year period, even based on that financial bottom line, the one that 99% of the businesses are only focused on. So this is the way we measure our business against these 5 things. Give you some examples. So on the business side, over the past 16 years, we've gone from a 14 share to a 35 share in a category that's quadrupled. On brands, we've gone from 4 brands to 18. On the people side, we continue to innovate our people programs and have some of the lowest turnover rates in the industry. Community, over 83,000 hours of community service on company time during this time period. And for the past 13 years, over £500 million of organic ingredients purchased. If Gary had walked away and Kit had signed that deal to take the $120 million, none of this would have ever happened. It took us almost losing our way to find our path forward. So let me ask you a question. How many of you work a 40-hour week? How about 50? How about 60? Okay, well, that's pretty good. A recent Gallup study found that 60% of us, this is us people back here, 50% of us work over 60 hours a week. For context purposes, that's 75% of your waking hours Monday to Friday, not including commute. And it's not like we're getting to work and we're all fired up when we get there, right? For many of us, we're staring at a screen. It's solitary, it's sedentary, it's not very engaging. This is no way for us to be living. And then we got this guy, right, who doesn't work 8 to 5. And if we're not disciplined with this guy, what's the last thing we're doing before we go to sleep? Checking emails, right? What's the first thing we're doing in the morning? Checking emails. Now, what's crazy about this is that another Gallup poll stat is that 70% of people, they don't even like their job. So we're working more and we're caring less. That is crazy. And I'm not naive enough to suggest we should all start working 40 hours tomorrow and then turn off our phone at 5 o'clock. But we do have to stop preaching about this work-life balance thing, right? As if there's some mythical balance sheet in people's homes that's work life and my life. It doesn't work that way. The question we need to ask is, how do people stay whole? And I've heard a lot of business leaders, many of them not millennials, who have bemoaned the fact that millennials won't give in to that grind from Monday to Friday. Good for you. Also, that there's a sense of entitlement. But I think the entitlement actually sits with these business leaders thinking they can continue to extract all this time for us without taking care of us from an emotional, mental, or physical standpoint. People give us everything they have. They build our business and our brands. We have a responsibility to them, a responsibility to take care of them outside of our four walls, a responsibility to them to give them meaningful work when they're at our company, and a responsibility to help them lead healthy, active lives. Now, here's a few things we've done at Cliff Bar to really help engage people in the organization. So we went out and asked people, we said, what's important to you? We built programs around it, and then we paid them to go do it. So one thing we do, we encourage people to give time for causes that they care about on company time. We pay them to go do it. We give people time to be healthy and active. Go for a run, go for a bike ride, go for a yoga class or whatever it is on company time, and we pay them to go do it. And then we also, through our people programs, things like as simple as having dry cleaning. Bring your dry cleaning to the office and you can contract that from our, or make that happen from our office. You don't have to do it on Saturdays. To bringing physical therapy in for a day. Massage, right? A gym, on-site childcare. Things that just make life easier for people. Puts money back in their pockets, or time, I should say, back in their pockets, to connect with the things that they love. You know, my friends will tell me all the time, they'll say, no way, Kevin, when people are out biking or doing a yoga class, you're losing productivity. And I tell them, you can't afford not to do this. Butts and seats doesn't equal productivity. I need people who are fired up. I need people coming into to work each day at their best, whole people, ready to take on the challenges that we face as a business, but also how we can impact broader societal change. I've got to have people at their best, ready to go to make things happen. I'm going to end on a personal note. Can you guess which one's my dad? Right? He's up there. So my dad comes from what is known as the silent generation. Most of your parents are probably like my age, but maybe your grandparents then. It's the silent generation, and they were known for working really, really, really hard. They were also known for being very, very quiet. And, you know, a lot of what we have on this work-life balance emanated from this generation. Because there was work life, what I do to go to work is I work. And then there is life. And I think a lot of the dissatisfaction Gen Xers and millennials have come across is the fact that we're living with this, and this doesn't really fit with how we want to live. So it reminds me of something with my dad, a memory I have of him coming downstairs in his shirt and tie when I was a kid. And he'd have breakfast with us, and then he'd leave. And he'd come back 10 hours later, and he'd be beat. And he would rally, you know, he'd ask us about our day, he'd talk to us about homework, we'd go out and play, but he never really talked about what he did. He's 84 now, and this was his life for 30 years. And as good a work as he did for that company, they never get the best of him because they never asked him to bring his whole self to work each day. And one of the things that I appreciate most about my life is my kids don't have to see a Monday dad and a Saturday dad. They see a dad who's as fired up to go to work on Monday as he is for his bike ride on Saturday. A dad who works for a company who makes him want to be a better guy, do more for people, the planet, and the community. But I realize that I'm one of the lucky ones. I get that. But it's this generation, the millennial generation, that can change this, right? Carry your love tos. Stay true to the things that really, really matter to you. Bring those into your career, bring them into work every single day. And by doing so, we'll transform the drudgery of work into an avenue of purpose. And in doing so, put business back in the service of things that truly matter. People, our communities, and the planet. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Why don't you have this one? Nobody's
It's
touched
full.
that one.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
It was a little
Hydrate.
empty,
You got to
yes,
hydrate.
Got to hydrate.
So let's get right into the questions. We're gonna dive right into tough ones.
You go.
How do you address the rumors that Cliff is using African child labor to obtain cocoa?
So we have we work today on our cocoa sourcing with Rainforest Alliance, which is a firm that has deep-rooted both social and environmental heritage. And we source all of our conventional, that comes a lot from Africa, from Rainforest Alliance certified. So we feel good about that source. And we're continuing to work on it to make sure that we're part of the solution.
Excellent. How do you suggest making or recommending how people can have a more balanced work-life by engaging and not draining themselves, but also millennials are kind of on the low end of the totem pole. So how do you convince kind of the man that you should have a work-life balance and that a company should change their structure?
Well, the first thing you do is you come to work for Cliff Bar.
Okay.
Fair enough? All right. No, you know, but that is part of it, is like really being choiceful and thoughtful. And you guys are. Like, I'm in awe of this generation. Like, being thoughtful and choiceful about, you guys are so thoughtful and choiceful about how you spend your money. It's the same thing about who you go and work for at Starters, right? I think as you get into it and you get further down the path and you are at a company and the company's not helping support these initiatives, it's finding people up in the organization to connect with. Because there's Kevin Clearys running around all over the place that are people connected to their lives, whether it's their kids, whether it's their outside interests, et cetera. So you got to find those people at the company and start a conversation and a dialogue about them and help them understand some of the benefits that can happen.
A lot of people are told that entrepreneurs have to not sleep and not allow themselves to play to really succeed. What would you say?
Bullshit.
So, I mean, earlier today we had Georgetown Cupcake, the two sisters who are the founders, and they're like, we eat, sleep, we dream, we are always there. What do you say to them?
Well, here's the thing, is that, you know, when you're, depending on where you are in your curve of a business, like when you start a business and you're getting into it, of course you're going to be investing a ton of time in that process. As the business goes, what I'll tell you is, and I've found as CEO of Cliff Bar, it's not sustainable. Like, life is not sustainable at that pace, and you'll burn out. So you got to find your ways over time to connect to the things that matter to you outside of work. We're complex beings, you know, we're complex people, and we've got a lot of interests. And people that work for us also have a lot of interests, and especially if you're an owner or a CEO, their interests may even be broader than yours. So how are you helping them connect?
Many of us are working for nonprofits or in the political sphere and have to be on call 24 hours a day. How do we self-care without guilt?
Yeah, you know, that's a really good question. And I have never worked in either area, so I can't give you a specific example for having some experience there. But, you know, I think that we've got to give ourselves time out. We have to be able to put that phone down. Because if we can't put it down, you're never truly present with the things that matter outside of that work that you're doing. And the key that I've found to people who are terribly productive at work are also those, especially over time, right, over that broad time, people who are terribly productive at work are people who are connected to things that matter to them on a holistic level. So,
okay. Bringing your whole self to work is a privilege. Women, especially those of color, often don't have this luxury. How do you address that?
You know, we as a company, I mean, we're constantly developing, talking to our teams of people about what are the programs that you need to help you. In fact, we just built a bakery in Twin Falls, Idaho, and you know, it's a different workforce than the workforce we have in Emeryville, California. And we asked them, we said, hey, here's what works in Emeryville. Those programs I talked about earlier, some of those things. I said, here's what works in Emeryville. What works for you guys? Like what works in that bakery and what works for that team? And they're coming up with the stuff that works for them, and then we'll build programs around it. Because I'm not about trying to tell people what they need to be doing. I'm all about just saying, hey, here's what we want to do. We want whole people coming to work each day, and how best do you handle that? And how best do you develop programs that are based on what they need?
In the introduction, I said that you guys care a lot about organic and sustainable.
Yes.
Here at Geo, they're very good about composting and separating and recycling.
Yep.
Cliff wrappers go in landfill.
Yep.
What do you do?
What do you do?
What are you going to fix? That seems like doesn't jive with the motto.
Absolutely. So the wrapper is one of our challenges, and we are working with companies as we speak. I have a team of people that have been working on it. Part of the challenge we have is that our product is rugged, and it's taken to the highest levels on Earth. So for our product, we got to make sure that the barrier properties are present and real to make sure that the product inside stays what it is. But know that our work is not done in that area, and that we are going to fix that problem.
How long?
You know, it's funny you asked that. I told my team the other day, I said, in the next 3 years, I want a solution. I'm not saying it's going to be across every one of our products, but I said the next 3 years, I want a solution on one of our brands.
The industry is filled with healthy products, especially health food bars. How does Cliff Bar continue to differentiate itself in an ever-expanding market?
So I'll say innovation. You guys tasted a little bit of it today. I mean, that's the first of its kind. I'd say innovation.
Nut butter is innovation?
Nut butter filled bars.
Is innovation.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel I'm so excited I was on the cutting edge of that.
No, you're like right on the cutting edge,
on
Sonia. You're right there. So innovation is key. The other thing is we are about inspiring adventure. So we're sponsoring Kona Ironman this year. You know, the Ironman series, Kona Ironman. We're sponsoring events like the Spartan race. So we're doing Spartan race. So we're really about connecting with people at their points of passion. And the last thing I'll say is, I love the taste of our bars. And that's a place that I think we win, is we just make really good tasting products with the finest ingredients.
How many can I eat a day and still be considered healthy? Because I had to sort of make it, I knew I was going to have at least one today, so for breakfast I was like, can I eat 2?
It's funny, the other day I was at work and I forgot my lunch, and I think I powered through 4 and I felt great, so.
So it's okay. But you're a runner and I am a sitter, so.
The new nut butter filled bar is for you.
Yeah, I was not disappointed when the run was canceled today.
Yeah.
I was not showing up anyway, but.
I was kind of bummed. I wanted to get out there and see what these millennials had to offer.
Oh.
I'm sure it was a lot more than I had to.
When do you leave?
I leave in about a half hour.
Oh, so you are literally running to the airport?
Yes,
okay.
literally.
Well, sorry. I'm sorry that you and I cannot go on a run.
Oh, listen, she knew that answer. You know she knew that answer.
Thank you so much for joining us, for giving
yeah.
us so much of your time. And maybe you can answer some tweets as well, because there are lots of great questions.
Okay,
we didn't
sure.
get a chance to
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you so much,
we'll get
Kevin.
on there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.